This weekend we have a UFC fight night from Perth, Australia. And in the main event we have Ulberg fighting versus Dominick Reyes. For every fight on this card we will go over which fighters are picked the most by the UFC Prediction Channels on YouTube. And also by which method of victory they predict each fighter to win their fight. Over the past few weeks I made some upgrades to my files and added things that were requested by the viewers. I've also made some visual upgrades and I've added the tail of the tape to give you some more information about each fighter. Let me know what you think about these upgrades in the comments below. And without further ado, let's get started with the first fight of the night. The first fight of the night is in the women's strawweight division between Loma Lookboonmee and Alexia Thainara. Lookboonmee is on a 4-fight winning streak and Alexia Thainara has won her first 2 fights in the UFC. With minus 245 in average odds, Alexia is the favorite and Loma the underdog with plus 200. In picks by the UFC Prediction Channels on YouTube, Alexia is a pretty big favorite with 53 channels picking her to win out of 64 for 83%. The best predictors so far this year pick her 4 out of 6. The best predictors on favorite fighters and odds pick the favorite Alexia 4 out of 5. And the best predictors on underdogs pick the underdog Loma only 1 out of 7. So they don't have a lot of faith in this underdog. The channels highlighted in green had the highest return on investment with all of their picks so far this year. The channels with a star in front of the name had the highest return on investment with their picks on favorite fighters in odds only. And the ones with the dog in front of their name had the highest return on investment with their picks on underdogs only. For method of victory predictions, we have 0 channels picking any fighter for a KO or TKO win. We have 1 channel going with a submission win for Loma and 10 for Alexia. And as we usually see in a women's fight, most channels are predicting a decision win, with 8 for Loma and a total of 23 out of 42 for 55% picking Alexia Thainara to win via decision. Although most channels are going with the decision win, 3 out of 6 of the best method of victory predictors pick her to win via submission. 2 out of 6 go with the decision and 1 out of 6 are picking Loma Lookboonmee to win via decision. Since I've just started tracking results for method of victory predictions since the end of June, I don't have a whole lot of data on it. So far for 135 fights, so I wouldn't put too much value for now on these numbers. And unfortunately for this fight and some others at the start of this card, there were no odds available on oddsjam.com. The next fight is in the heavyweight division between Brando, Pericic and Elisha, Ellison. And they're both making their UFC debut, so we have no stats for them yet. With minus 215, Brando Pericic is the favorite and the underdog is Elisha, Ellison with plus 180. Brando is also the favorite in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels with 43 out of 62 for 70%. The best predictors pick him 4 out of 6 and the best favorite predictors 4 out of 5. And the best underdog predictors pick the underdog Elisha Ellison 2 out of 7. 40 channels made a method of victory prediction on this fight so far, and most are going with a KO or TKO finish, with 22 going for Brando for 55% and a total of 10 for Elisha. 1 channel picked Brando to win via submission and 4 for Elisha, and 3 channels predict a decision win for Brando. 4 out of 6 of the best method of victory predictors go with a KO or TKO win for Brando, but 2 of them predict Elisha to win via submission. For the next fight we go to the women's bantamweight division for a fight between Montague and Luana Carolina. Montague is making her UFC debut and Luana Carolina is on a 3-fight win streak. Although she's making her UFC debut, Michelle is the favorite with minus 235 and Luana the underdog with plus 190. And she's also a big favorite in picks by the UFC Prediction Channels with 50 out of 64 for 78%. But she's not the favorite in picks by the best predictors. And Luana Carolina is the slight favorite by them with 4 out of 7. But the favorite Michelle is picked by the best favorite predictors 4 out of 6. What about the best underdog predictors? Do they like the underdog Luana? Well, not so much. 2 out of 7 predict that she will win. For method of victory predictions, we have only 1 channel predicting a KO or TKO win for Luana. But most of the channels are predicting a submission win for Montague, which is predicted by 25 out of 41 channels for 61%. And for a decision win, it's even and both fighters are picked by 7 channels. And all of the best method of victory predictors go with Michelle. 1 out of 6 for a KO TKO and 5 out of 6 for a submission. And also for this fight, just like the previous 2, there were no odds available at this moment for method of victory predictions on oddsjam.com. Up next, we go to the bantamweight division for a fight between Colby Thicknesse and Josias Musasa. Both are relatively young with 26 years of age and both have lost the last fight. With minus 150, the favorite is Josias Musasa and Colby Thicknesse the underdog with plus 125. The favorite in picks by the UFC Prediction Channels is the slight underdog Colby Thicknesse. But he's only picked slightly more, with 34 out of 65 channels predicting he will win for 52%. And 31 are going with Josias. But the best predictors have even more faith in Colby Thicknesse and he's picked 5 out of 7. And none of the best favorite predictors are going with the favorite Josias Musasa to win this fight. And it happens very rarely that the best favorite fighter in odds is picked by the best favorite predictors 0 times. But this will likely change in the next coming days, because a lot of prediction channels still have to make their picks for this card, including the best predictors on favorite fighters. And as a quick plug, you can get the latest up-to-date picks on my Patreon every Friday and Saturday. For more information, check the link in my video description. And the best underdog predictors go with the underdog Colby Thicknesse 3 out of 6. For the method of victory predictions, we have around 1/3 of the channels, 13 out of 43, predicting a KO or TKO win for Musasa and only 1 for Colby. But Colby is picked a lot more for a submission win, by 10 channels, and 0 for Musasa. And for a decision win, we have 11 for Colby and 8 for Musasa. And the best method of victory predictors are all over the place. 2 are going with a submission win for Colby, 2 for a KO TKO win for Musasa, and 1 for each for a decision win. For the next one, we go to the lightweight division for a fight between Mullarkey and Rolando Bedoya. Over his last 5 fights, Mullarkey won 2 of them by unanimous decision and 3 of them he lost by a KO or TKO. And Rolando Bedoya has lost all 3 of his UFC fights by a decision. And in odds, this fight is basically even. For most of the week, Bedoya was the small favorite, but now Mullarkey is the small favorite with minus 115. And Bedoya has minus 105. But it's not so close in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 41 out of 67 go with Mullarkey to win for 61%. Also the best predictors slightly favor Mullarkey with 5 out of 8. And because this fight is basically even in odds, we can kind of ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors, but the best favorite predictors pick Rolando Bedoya 4 out of 6 and the best underdog predictors go with Mullarkey 4 out of 7. A KO TKO victory is picked by 15 channels for Bedoya and only 1 channel for Mullarkey. Mullarkey is also picked by 1 channel for a submission win. But a lot of channels pick him to win via decision, 23 out of 43 for 53.5%. And 3 channels, or actually 4 channels, are picking Bedoya to win via decision. The next fight is between Jonathan Micallef and Oban Elliott in the welterweight division. Jonathan won his first 2 fights in the UFC and Oban Elliott was on a 4-fight winning streak but lost his last fight. And just like the previous fight, this fight is pretty close in odds. Oban Elliott is the slight favorite with minus 125 and Jonathan Micallef the underdog with plus 105. Although Oban Elliott is the small favorite in odds, most of the prediction channels are going against the odds makers. And they pick the underdog Jonathan Micallef 44 out of 68 for 65%. And most of the best predictors also see value in Jonathan Micallef and he's picked 6 out of 8. And the slight favorite fighter in odds, Oban Elliott, is only picked by the best favorite predictors 1 out of 6. And we see the same results in picks by the best underdog predictors because they pick the slight underdog Jonathan Micallef only 2 out of 7. But when the odds are this close, we can kind of ignore the picks from the best favorite and underdog predictors. For the method of victory predictions, we have only 1 channel going with a KO or TKO win for Jonathan, also 1 channel going with a submission win for him, and the rest of the channels all go with a decision win. 24 out of 40 for Jonathan for 60% and 14 channels for Oban Elliott for 35%. And the best MOV predictors are going with a decision win, 2 for Jonathan and 3 for Oban Elliott and 1 KO TKO for Jonathan. Up next we go to the middleweight division for a fight between Rowston and Petroski. And both have kind of a similar record of 12-3 for Cameron and 13-4 for Petroski. The favorite in this matchup is Petroski with minus 170 and with plus 140 Rowston the underdog. Petroski is also the favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 42 channels pick him to win out of 69 for 61%. The best predictors are 50-50 on this fight and each fighter is picked by 4 of them. And the same with the best favorite predictors. It's also 50-50, each fighter is picked by 3 of them. And the underdog, Cameron Rowston, is picked by the best underdog predictors only 2 out of 7 for 28.6%. So they don't have much faith in this underdog. 9 out of 43 channels predicting a KO TKO win for Cameron Rowston and 0 for Petroski. For submission we have 2 for Cameron and 1 for Petroski. And for some reason one of these channels isn't counted. I will fix that for next video. But most channels are going with a decision win. 5 for Cameron, but most of them for Petroski with 27 out of 43 for 63%. Up next we go to the light heavyweight division for a fight between Navajo Stirling and Rodolfo Bellato. Stirling is on a 3-fight winning streak and Bellato has collected all 4 ways to end a fight in his last 5 fights. Navajo Stirling is the favorite with minus 245 and with plus 200 Rodolfo Bellato, the underdog. Stirling is a big favorite in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels and is picked by 60 out of 67 channels for almost 90%. And all of the best predictors with 7 out of 7 pick Stirling as well to win, and the best favorite and underdog predictors all go with Stirling as well for 6 out of 6 and 7 out of 7. Most of the channels are predicting a KO or TKO win for Stirling with 27 out of 43 for 63% and 2 channels pick Rodolfo Bellato. For submission win we have 3 for Bellato and for a decision 11 channels for Stirling. And the best MOV predictors 4 out of 6 have a KO TKO win for Stirling, 1 a submission win for Bellato and 1 decision for Stirling. Opening up the main card we have a fight in the lightweight division between Tom Nolan and Charlie Campbell. Tom Nolan is on a 3-fight winning streak and Charlie Campbell on a 2-fight winning streak. Tom Nolan is the favorite with minus 155 and Charlie Campbell the underdog with plus 125. The favorite in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels is Tom Nolan. He's picked 45 out of 69 for 65%. And he's also the favorite in picks by the best predictors with 5 out of 7 for 71%. And the best favorite predictors pick him 4 out of 6. The underdog, Charlie Campbell, is picked by the best underdog predictors only 1 out of 7, so they don't have a lot of faith in this underdog. 41 channels made a method of victory predictions. 5 of them predict a KO or TKO win for Tom Nolan and 10 for Charlie Campbell. 0 have a submission win, but most of them go with the decision win for Tom Nolan with 22 out of 41 for 54% and 4 channels pick a decision win for Charlie Campbell. For the next fight we go to the heavyweight division for a fight between Justin Tafa and Louis Sutherland, who is making his UFC debut. In odds this fight is very close. Justin Tafa is the slight favorite with minus 120 and Louis Sutherland the slight underdog with plus 100. Although he's making his UFC debut and he is a tiny underdog, he is the favorite in picks by the UFC Prediction Channels. 47 out of 69 pick him to win for 68%. And he's also the favorite in picks by the best predictors with 5 out of 8. And just like some of the previous fights, this fight is so close in odds that we can kind of ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors, but the best favorite predictors have it 5 out of 6 for Louis Sutherland and the best underdog predictors 4 out of 7. Most of the channels are predicting a knockout in this fight, with 14 out of 43 for Justin Tafa and 23 out of 43 for Louis Sutherland. No one predicts a submission win in this fight, and for a decision win we have 6 channels for Louis Sutherland. 5 out of 6 of the best MOV predictors predict a KO TKO win for Louis Sutherland, and one of them has picked Justin Tafa by KO or TKO. For the next fight we go to the welterweight division for a fight between Jake Matthews, who's on a 3-fight winning streak, and Neil Magny, who has mixed results over his last 5 fights. Jake Matthews is a huge favorite with minus 420 in average odds, which makes him the biggest favorite on this card. And Neil Magny has odds of plus 315. 65 channels out of 70, so most of them are predicting that Jake Matthews wins this fight for 93%. And all of the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors also go with Jake Matthews to win for 8 out of 8, 6 out of 6 and 7 out of 7. So the only question remains is by which method of victory are these channels predicting Jake Matthews to win. 10 out of 46 go with a KO or TKO, 4 with a submission, and for a decision win we have 30 channels out of 46 for Jake Matthews and only 2 channels for Neil Magny. And the best MOV predictors are 50-50 between a KO TKO or a decision win for Jake Matthews, both 3 out of 6. The next fight is in the featherweight division between Jack Jenkins and Ramon Taveras. Both of them are 31 years old and lost their last fight. Jack Jenkins is the big favorite with minus 290 in average odds and with plus 230 Taveras the underdog. And the prediction channels on YouTube agree with the odds makers and also have Jack Jenkins as a big favorite with 64 out of 69 for 93%. He's also the favorite, although not as big, by the best predictors with 6 out of 8 for 75%. The best predictors on favorite fighters have him 4 out of 6. And the underdog Roman Tavares is picked by the best underdog predictors 0 times, so they have no faith in this underdog. Almost 1/3 of all the channels, 12 out of 38, pick Jack Jenkins to win by KO or TKO, and 2 for Roman Tavares. Not a single channel predicts a submission win in this fight, and most of them are predicting a decision win for Jack Jenkins, with 23 out of 38 for 60% and 1 channel for Roman Tavares. And the best method of victory predictors all go with Jack Jenkins, 3 by KO or TKO and 2 by a decision. And the co-main event of the evening is between Jimmy Crute and Ivan Urslan in the light heavyweight division. And both of them have not such a great record. Jimmy Crute won his last fight, but had 2 draws and losses before that fight. And Ivan Urslan has 2 fights in the UFC and lost both of them. Jimmy Crute is the favorite with -190, and with +155 Ivan Urslan the underdog. Although he's not such a big favorite in odds, he is a pretty big favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 57 out of 69 pick him to win for 83%. But the best predictors over 2025 all go with Jimmy Crute 8 out of 8. And also all of the best favorite predictors go with Jimmy Crute 6 out of 6. And the underdog Ivan Urslan is picked by the best underdog predictors only 1 out of 7. So they don't have a lot of faith in this underdog. Only a few channels predict a KO or TKO win in this fight, with 2 for Jimmy Crute and 3 for Ivan Urslan. But most of the channels are predicting a submission win for Jimmy Crute with 28 out of 43 for 65%. And for a decision win we have 9 for Jimmy Crute and 1 for Ivan Urslan. And the best method of victory predictors, 3 out of 6 go with a submission win for Jimmy Crute, but the rest of them are kind of all over the place, with 1 for a KO TKO win for Jimmy Crute and a decision win, and 1 KO TKO win for Ivan Urslan. And then, for the main event of the evening, we have a fight in the light heavyweight division between Carlos Ulberg and Dominick Reyes. Ulberg is on an impressive 5-fight winning streak and Dominick Reyes on a 3-fight winning streak. With -255 in average odds, Carlos Ulberg is the favorite, and Dominick Reyes the underdog with +200. Exactly 2/3 of all the channels pick Carlos Ulberg to win with 48 out of 72 for 66.7%. The best predictors are 50-50 on this fight, and each fighter is picked 4 out of 8. The favorite fighter in odds, Carlos Ulberg, is picked by the best favorite predictors 4 out of 6. And the underdog, Dominick Reyes, is picked by the best underdog predictors 3 out of 7. So almost half of them. For the method of victory predictions, we have most channels predicting a KO or TKO win for Carlos Ulberg with 23 out of 45 or 51%. And 12 channels are picking Dominick Reyes to win by KO or TKO. Not a single channel is predicting a submission win in this fight. And for a decision win, we have 8 channels for Carlos Ulberg and 2 for Dominick Reyes. And the best method of victory predictors go with a KO TKO win for Ulberg 3 out of 6, a KO TKO win for Dominick Reyes 2 out of 6, and a decision win 1 out of 6 for Carlos Ulberg. For the best betting opportunities, we have a total of 3 fights. But over the next few days, when more predictions are coming in, especially from the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors, things might change. So these 3 fighters might be the best betting opportunities for now. For the first potential good betting opportunity, we have Colby Thicknesse, who is the underdog with +125. 5 out of 7 of the best predictors predict him to win, and the best favorite predictors 6 out of 6, and the best underdog predictors have it 3 out of 6. Unfortunately, there weren't any odds available for method of victories, but the picks are split between a submission and a decision win for Colby Thicknesse. For the next best betting opportunity, we have Navajo Stirling, who is a pretty big favorite with -245 in average odds. But he's also picked by the best predictors 7 out of 7, and the best favorite and underdog predictors also all pick him with 6 out of 6 and 7 out of 7. And maybe to get a better price than the -245 moneyline odds, you could go with a KO or TKO win, which gives you odds of +110, and which is also picked by the best method of victory predictors 4 out of 6. And for the last potential good betting opportunity, we have Jimmy Crute, who is the favorite with -190, but he's picked by all of the best predictors 8 out of 8 and all of the best favorite predictors 6 out of 6. And to get a better price than the -190 moneyline odds, you could go with a submission win for him, which gives you odds of +250 and is picked by the best method of victory predictors 3 out of 6. That was it for the overview video for UFC Fight Night in Perth, Australia. If you want to get daily updates with the latest picks and method of victory predictions, you can get those by becoming a member on Buy Me Coffee or Patreon, which also helps supporting the channel to give you these weekly updates. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful or informative. If you did, then don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Have a great weekend, enjoy the fights, and I'll see you in the next video.